Hi, everybody. Glad to have you with us. I've got basketball highlights. I've got scores. I've got a whole lot of information there on our community calendar and otherwise. The McGoffin County Fiscal Court met in regular session this morning after several failed attempts due to the weather. Two main topics of conversation: resolutions concerning the natural gas problem, which is still affecting a great deal of Frontier Gas customers this evening. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about a resolution in regards to the four-laning proposed of Restaurant Row here in McGoffin County. A whole lot of other news and information to include in what's left of the half hour. Well, I got it right here. I've got your outlook for the extended forecast period. I'm not real excited about giving it to you. We'll talk about that in more detail. I can say, though, to some degree that there's a real title fight brewing. In one corner, you've got the current reigning champion, a whole lot of cold air, and the challenger in the other corner, a bunch of warmer air to the south. And it looks as though we may have ringside seats sometime next week in what could be just a real battle between the two, and could give us a really major winter mess. We'll talk about that in more detail, as bad as I hate to when we get to your weather forecast. And only a glimpse on that front, as it is a little farther than the forecast period is concerned, but it's already got the attention of a whole lot of folks across the nation, especially our part. A minus 6 degrees this morning here at the newsroom. Topped out at 31 very briefly in the sun today here at the newsroom. We're at 25 and falling. We look to fall to around 4 degrees. However, once again, with last night's low, it was off the mark, as from computer predictions, for about 5 to 6 degrees or so. Very cold, bitter morning. This Arctic air is finally going to be on its way out of here tomorrow. One more day for, well, having to bear through it, and one more night for a lot of customers who are still without heat in McGoffin County. We'll be talking about all of that in much more detail. You know, we've been dealing with all this cold air, several inches of snowfall. Pretty much the norm for Kentucky. We don't see it every year, but it's nothing out of the realm of possibility or history, certainly. But for the folks in Atlanta and Alabama, 2 to 3 inches of snowfall have totally wreaked havoc. Kids still stranded on school buses 24 hours later, hundreds of vehicles tying up the interstate, and it all happened due to a lot of bad timing and maybe some bad decisions. No one really pointing the finger as of yet, but businesses, schools, and everyone kind of turned out and sent everyone home at the same time yesterday. That about 1 inch to 3 inches of snowfall began to fall. Roads that, of course, see very little snowfall and treatment there too became iced over, slick, hazardous, and stranded motorists. The National Guard called in to deliver food, water, gas to hundreds and hundreds of vehicles. Some kids, most all the kids were told that were on school buses for close to 24 hours, have been retrieved by the National Guard, taken back to their respective schools, many spending the night there again tonight. But 2 to 3 inches of snowfall has just crippled that part of the country. Kind of puts things in a bit of perspective, I suppose. Well, here's some perspective for you. After a federal farm bill resolution has at least come to an agreement this week, giving pilot growing programs the green light, so to speak, pardon the pun, to go ahead. Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner James Comer says that industrial hemp will be grown on Kentucky soil this year after being banned by the federal government for tens of years. Now, that's if Congress does, as it's expected to do at this point, go ahead and finalize a farm bill with appropriate hemp language included therein. Comer said today that the state agriculture department is going to issue, so far, an undetermined number of licenses to farmers who wish to grow hemp in Kentucky for the first time in a very long time. A Kentucky Senate committee has voted to approve a bill that would give more leeway to operators and passengers on all-terrain vehicles in the state of Kentucky in regards to wearing helmets or not wearing them. Under the measure, the helmet requirement would not apply to anyone on or operating an ATV crossing a roadway with a speed limit of 55 miles per hour or less. Under current Kentucky law, anyone operating or on an ATV 16 years or older are allowed to ride without helmets when they're on private property in the use of farming, mining, logging, or other activities or operations. However, this would give them the leeway to not wear helmets, once again, crossing, not riding on, but crossing roadways in Kentucky with a speed limit of 55 or under. I'll be right back in just a few moments with local headlines.
January is Employee Month at Hutch Chevrolet, as you will buy like a Hutch employee. You pay what we pay.
Hello, this is Earl Justice. Hutch Chevrolet is introducing a new way to buy a new car. It's the Hutch Easy Pay plan. It will cut your payments up to 40% every month, just like the new 2014 Chevy Equinox. Don't pay over $500 per month. Now with the new Hutch Easy Pay, only $325.08 a month. Get to Hutch Chevrolet GMC, Paintsville, Kentucky. Isn't it time for you to buy Hutch?
Hi, I'm Don McFarland. I am an attorney in Salyersville, Kentucky, and I'm here to serve you and meet your legal needs. If you have been injured on the job, if you are interested in receiving your disability or your SSI benefits, if someone's negligence has caused you trouble, basically, if you have been in a car wreck and you've suffered pain, then pick up the phone and call Donald Wayne, 349-9000.
Check out our daily specials to get even better after 4 o'clock only at your Salyersville Lee's Famous Recipe, where Thursday is Dipper Day. That's right, get our boneless wing dipper meal with your choice of 2 homemade sides and a biscuit for just $4.99 or only $4.29 after 4 p.m. only at your Salyersville Lee's Famous Recipe. Start off the new year with some brand new duds. Regardless of how hard you have to work or how hard you want to play, if you're stepping out or if it's what you're stepping in, Red's Boot Barn has got you covered with work, play, and western boots by Muck, Ariat, Redwind, Blackjack, and more, and winter and western wear by Wrangler, Ariat, Miss Me, Outback, and Carhartt, just to name a few. Happy 2014 from everyone at Red's Boot Barn in Salyersville.
This is John at Premier Motor Sales in Paintsville, Kentucky. We appreciate y'all shopping with us. And if you're in the market for a used vehicle, we carry all sorts of different kinds of makes and models. For example, here I have a 2009 Chevy Malibu LT. I also have a 2010 Toyota Corolla S. It's no problem to find you what you're looking for. Give us a call at 297-4121 in Paintsville, Kentucky.
At the end of every race, Mark Martin hangs up his driving gloves. He hangs up his fire suit. And he hangs up his helmet. Which is why he picks up his phone and opens the ER Extra app. The app shows ER Extra wait times, locations, and more. It's the one safeguard Mark Martin is never without. ER Extra at Paul B. Hall Regional Medical Center. Extra fast, extra easy, extra great.
While Kentucky's Attorney General Jack Conway has reportedly filed a formal complaint against a propane gas provider in the western part of the Commonwealth for violations of the state's Consumer Protection Act, local government officials here in Salyersville, Magoffin County, are wrestling with a similar situation, the ongoing gas shortage and problems on behalf of customers of the Frontier Gas Company based in Prestonsburg. First off, I want to thank so many of you for so much of your feedback that you've been continuing to send into myself in the newsroom over the past several days. I wish we could have been doing this on a more positive topic, but nevertheless, we thank you for all of your input. I have today, in this most recent round of outages, been getting a great deal of names from residences in the Oakley, Beatree, Carver area, Spurlock Road, Mason Creek, Punchin Creek, Sand Bottom, which indicates very obviously, of course, that the outages experienced this time around in this third round appear to be isolated more so in the southern part of Magoffin County. Residents tell me about outages beginning yesterday evening around 6 o'clock, some beginning during the overnight, early morning hours today, but all without gas to some degree, which was one of the topics of conversation, one of the main focal points of the Magoffin County Fiscal Court meeting earlier today. Before we talk about that, and a second resolution which was aimed at Four Landing, a part of the Mountain Parkway here in Salyersville, there was some other business to be covered, payment of bills, fund transfers, and a few other items before getting there.
Fund transfers of $29,000 to the jail fund, an $18,000 bill for Summit Engineering for work on the development of the industrial park, second reading of the budget amendment, a second reading of the resolution in regards to licensing and alcohol fees in Magoffin County, $202,000 allocated for the cleanup of open dumps in Magoffin County. Brief discussion about First Lady Jane Beshear asking each of the 120 Kentucky counties to come up with $1,000 in private charitable donations to go towards the renovation of the governor's mansion. and an Economic Development Administration grant, which was applied for and received last year for development of a comprehensive plan for McGoffin County. A representative of the Big Sandy Ad Board was in attendance today in the meeting and discussed that a consultant company, EHI, has been chosen and has submitted a proposal for $200,000, which will go toward doing all the work to see that all aspects of McGoffin County are uniformly put into this proposal so that grants will be able to be applied for. The state, I am ascertaining in regards to grants and funds being fewer and farther between, is now requesting that counties have a more outlined and organized plan when submitting grant applications, and that going through this particular company and proposal will organize everything that McGoffin County has into better grant applications.
Have this done in order to apply, be competitive for other grants. They're no longer going to allow us to come in and piecemeal say we would like to develop a project here, we'd like to develop a project there. And they want a master plan. They want it in pretty good detail. They want something that stands up to scrutiny and not pie in the sky. So we have no choice but to do this if we want to remain competitive.
That's true. And I do have a scope of work on that project if anybody wants to take a look at that. It will involve several public meetings and some information gathering on their part to develop this plan for the county.
But most of the time was spent on two separate resolutions, one concerning natural gas, one concerning the widening of Restaurant Row in Salyersville. First up, Mike Wilson, the Emergency Management Director, who updated the court on the current and ongoing natural gas shortage experienced by Frontier Gas and suffered through by many McGoffin County residents. Even today, from what I understand, at least a couple of 100, mostly in the southern part of the county this time around, without their natural gas heat source. Local government to date has filed a complaint with the Public Service Commission, contemplated a state of emergency, and now, as of today's meeting, taken the necessary steps to request a hearing before the Public Service Commission to find a permanent and better solution.
Essentially, Frontier Gas basically has a supply and demand problem. When the cold weather goes down, we have a higher demand, we've got loss of gas. They've been trying to buy gas from different companies to build their pressure up, but they can only sustain it for so long and then it goes back away. Since last week, we've had the Justice Center on and off probably for 3 or 4 different times. One time we'll have 30 pounds of pressure, next morning we'll have 0. This morning we're down to 0, we had to cut it back off. Right now it's back up to 5 pounds. I've talked to the Attorney General, talked to PSC, Public Service Commission. I've talked to Representative Shorts. He's made phone calls. Anybody that can get on board, emergency management, they've made phone calls to try to get to a decisive decision that we can, extricate this and get Frontier to have a better gas supply. PSC mentioned, or not PSC, but the Attorney General mentioned that we might have to inquire about a hearing. Judge Hardin said that's what we need to do. He wanted to have a public hearing, asked the Public Service Commission to have a public hearing. The resolution he has in front of him is one of the steps that we have to take to get that to the Public Service Commission, along with a formal complaint, which we have also, and get those up so they can get the steps in order to get Frontier in front of them and say, what's the problem? There's a lot of theories out there. I hear one day and 2 or 3 the next, but overall, I know they're trying, but what they're producing I don't believe is enough, and our citizens are the ones that are suffering. So the resolution you have in front of you is one of the steps that we have to take to get the Public Service Commission to have an open hearing.
And now, therefore, Charles E. Hardin, Jr., M.D., McGoffin County Judge Executive, on behalf of the McGoffin County Fiscal Court, do hereby request a formal hearing before the Kentucky Public Service Commission on the issue of Kentucky Frontier Gas Company and their failure to provide the citizens of McGoffin County with safe and dependable natural gas supply. I make a motion that the Fiscal Court adopt that resolution and that we go through the steps. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
My concern is everybody calls now, and they really think you're going to go away. And when we've talked to the Frontier Gas, I don't think they have a plan to keep this from happening again next year. If they don't have a plan for next year, then we don't need to wait till next year to say, well, we're going to do something. We need to get it in the proper channel. The PSC is in charge of regulating gas supplies, and they're in charge of making sure there's a fair rate of return on the gas company's investment, but they're also responsible making sure they have adequate supplies. And so I think we have to put the PSC and Frontier Gas in a formal room and say, okay, what's the plan? Because the plan can't be next year going through the same thing, I don't believe. Do you know of any other way we can go about it?
No.
And we've tried to work with them. I mean, we were going to guarantee payment of gas, but we couldn't even get one of the companies to talk to us because evidently there's been a cash flow problem in the past. So we just, you know.
If I could add, let the fiscal court know, you also judge that the Frontier Gas has had 2 price hikes since they acquired the gas system a few years ago. And as far as I know, the phone calls I've made, there's not been any improvements on their infrastructure.
Next, a second resolution, which was discussed and also passed unanimously. Twofold it was. In one part, thanking Governor Beshear for the commitment of more than $753 million to widen the Mountain Parkway, but also to graciously ask that it be modified from its current plans, which were presented last week and depicted in part here, to give better access to local businesses which are isolated from traffic under current plans, specifically in one area. And I've admitted on a couple of occasions this does have a personal interest, as Dairy Queen and Lee's Famous Recipes stand to be greatly affected. But in the reality of it, it's basically nearly all businesses on that side of the road, as access points are in both directions at considerable distances. The original plans called for a four-way stop here at this particular red light, but the most recent plans omitted the one on this side of the road, as contractors, or engineers I should say more specifically, said that there was a grading issue involved that would more so affect large trucks that were turning into that particular stretch of businesses.
County Fiscal Court in Salyersville City County wish to express our sincerest thanks to Governor Steve Beshear for including this much-needed project in his state highway plan. Governor Beshear will be forever remembered and revered by the citizens of Eastern Kentucky for this much-needed project that will, without a doubt, improve our economy and save lives. We would also like to acknowledge and express our gratitude to Secretary Mike Hancock of the Kentucky Department of Transportation and 92nd District State Representative John Short for working closely with Gulf County Judge Executive Charles Hardin before and following the tornado of 2012 to redesign a route through Restaurant Row section of Bertie Combs Parkway here in Salyersville that will be most beneficial to our local businesses. Basically, I want to thank him for what he did, but we need a little tweaking. And what we're going to ask for is a light off ramp at number 2, so that we can get down to where, well, it's toward Dairy Queen and where Lee's is at. And I think that would be important for economic. I think there's a lot more people would stop there for those 2 businesses and the businesses that are adjacent to it. And I think it would help our local citizens, some of our elderly citizens in particular. I think that was the major problem that I saw with the proposal, and I would like to make that in the form of a motion that we adopt it. Is there a second?
One other thing to add, I'm aware that some business owners have been contacted and asked to a meeting in Frankfort next week in regards to sitting down with the concerned parties in regards to finding a resolution to that same situation. With that said, that leads me, as I double check, it does, on to tonight's community calendar, brought to you by our friends at McGoffin Farm Bureau. Looks like a couple of reminders on tonight's calendar. They'll be picking and grinning, weather permitting, this Saturday at 7 at the Kearney Free Will Baptist Church, and you're now invited. And you're also invited to call now for reservations to the annual Sweetheart Banquet at the Burning Fork Community Church, set for February the 8th. That's not that far away, folks. You can make reservations for the wonderful dinner, steak or chicken, and all the fixings and desserts. And remember, kids eat free by calling 349-6400, the Burning Fork Community Church. An indoor photography workshop at our McGoffin County Extension office set for Monday, February the 10th. Call 349-3216 to let them know you're coming. And remember, eyeglass donations still can be made at the McGoffin County Senior Citizen Center by simply dropping those unneeded, unused eyeglasses off for collection by our Leola Cole, who will then see that they make their way a long way around the world to some folks who could desperately put them to use. Here's how you get just announcements just like these on the program, and that includes birthdays and anniversaries, always for free. And one last announcement this Wednesday, January 29, to be said in loving memory of Marie Rao, who passed away on this date back in 1968, loved and missed by her niece, Barbara Lou Salyer. Faster, friendlier, family-owned Parkway Pharmacy, open 8:30 till 6:30 Monday through Friday in the new McGoffin Medical Plaza under the care of local pharmacist Jesse Rudd. To make Parkway Pharmacy your pharmacy, come by or give us a call at 349-4400.
Let's do this. Can't believe my daughter wants to marry a Hatfield.
And I can't believe my son fell in love with a McCoy.
I got one thing to say. They're going to have the wireless plan with the best service.
And I say they're going to have the wireless plan with the biggest savings.
Daddy!
Hush up, Mary Beth.
Pa, stay out of this, Jonah.
We're done talking.
You got that right.
Better service.
Bigger savings.
Daddy, we've both got Appalachian Wireless. Better service.
Bigger savings.
That's today's Appalachian Wireless.
The 2014 Terexes are in with a newly redesigned 800cc power plant and a new 2-seat configuration. And the XP1000 is on the ground. 107 horsepower and a world-class suspension. Plus Polaris financing as low as 2.99%, 5.99 for up to 72 months. But it's only good till the end of the year at Connolly's Kawasaki and Polaris of Paintsville. From time and money saving services like their overdraft protection, telephone and online banking services, to finding the right home, college, or car loan, to personalized checking and savings accounts designed around your exact needs, Salyersville National Bank is still your best choice and the same locally owned and operated bank that's been looking out for your family's financial health since 1902. Salyersville National, restoring the piggy bank population one savings at a time. Love is in the air at the seasonal shop with something sweet for all your hearts. With cute $5 or $10 custom Valentines perfect for the kids at school and other adorable cuddly candy bouquets just perfect for everyone. And they've got the finest in Whitman's chocolates and more ways to say I love you than you can imagine throughout the store. Fashionable and fan favorite handbags and jewelry for her. Absolutely anything and everything UK for him, and even Big Blue for the cutest of Valentines. And just in, sassafras burlap designs in monogrammed doormats and garden flags to say welcome. All this and so much more only at Fraser's Prater Drugs seasonal shop in downtown Salyersville. Everybody at Salyersville Nursing and Rehabilitation Center wants you to join them in honoring two lovely ladies as they mark major milestones this week. Mary McCarty celebrating her 100th birthday, and Elizabeth Lemaster celebrating her 103rd. From all their extended family and friends at Salyersville Nursing and Rehabilitation Center, happy birthday, ladies. Happy birthday, Mary and Elizabeth.
Because I'm happy. If you feel like a room without a roof.
Well, I had to cut it short a little last night because I didn't want to cut the coverage. So some highlights tonight from the McGoffin County Hornets and Lady Hornets doubleheader earlier this week, as well as a few scores and a bit of information from a few superseding games that also takes us a little further down the line as far as the regular season schedule is concerned.
Two area, and you can say rival teams, pretty much traded shot for shot early in the going as the Hornets hosted the Tigers the other night. 22-14 would be the score at this point. The Tigers then cut the Hornets' lead to 3 with a 3-point play off a McGoffin County foul. But before the first half was up, well, McGoffin County would pick it up. There's a good spin, 4-2. Corey Pitts had a big night. Big with a jumper off to the side. And then on the defensive side of the ball, well, that's hard to miss. And I know those highlights are short and sweet. I was kind of juggling three things at once. I had to get back and do the 7 o'clock show and then get back to catch some of the girls' game. So I can tell you that the final score for that night was
as I'm checking here to make sure, 60-52, an 8-point win over Paintsville for the McGoffin County Hornets. Then they were back in action last night, the following night on the road, and this is how that one turned out, 73-78, a loss for McGoffin County. That to date puts them at 10-9 on the season, about 6 rungs down in 15th Region boys basketball. That also puts them next hosting East Ridge. We've got 2 home games this Thursday night, 1 boys, 1 girls. Second half of the doubleheader, the Lady Hornets had a bit easier go of it against Lawrence County. That's Madison Reed. She's got the ball after the rebound. The look down low to Castle for 2. And then this time Castle comes up with it and then gets the look and the bounce to Jazzy. And it's another 2. Jazzy this time is going to blaze a trail through traffic and gets routed to the free throw stripe for a little icing on the cake. Another rebound for Reed and a long look down low to Leslie Howard. That needs no description. It's 10-23 at the half in favor of McGoffin County. Reed across the timeline, dishes it to Jazzy, who puts it right back out to Reed, who was golden for another three-pointer. I don't know how many she had. She had a bunch that night. And the next trip down the floor, this proves my point. Jazzy to Reed for 3 as the Hornets continue to stretch out the lead. And how's this for a little follow-up? Jazzy comes up with control and a little dish pass and a little jump from Howard for 2. And don't blink or you'll miss this one. Jazzy to Castle for 2. Madison Reed picked up 17. Castle 12 points. Leslie Howard 6. And those are your leading scores as the Lady Hornets pretty much had their way rather easily with Lawrence County for the win at home. 53-25 would be your final score, and that was on Monday night. That puts them on the way back to another home game. Their game 1 tomorrow night. First part of a doubleheader, boys and girls both hosting East Ridge. Now, just enough time to wrap it up with this evening's Licking Valley RECC forecast. 19 degrees and falling if you're catching the early show. Frigid Arctic air holding on one more night tonight. Temperatures again bottoming out 0 or below for a whole lot of us. In fact, all the renderings telling me to tell you 4 degrees like last night. Don't be surprised if you're in the negative category by the time you get up and out tomorrow. We will warm up to a mostly sunny 36 degrees on your Thursday. We'll still see wind chill values in the morning being a factor. Things will start to calm down in the evening hours. Then we'll talk about some scattered flurries into your Friday. Temperatures improving to 42 degrees. I think even so better than the 40-degree mark that we had at the start of the program. That's now improved. Your weekend still sees an improvement temperature-wise. We'll get into more detail. I'm running short of time. And, of course, as the week progresses, we're still going to be telling you to enjoy this warmer air over the next few days. It will be a bit above average for a lot of us on a couple of occasions, but we're still very aware that we're watching a growing potential for some significant rain, freezing rain, and or snow in the forecast starting Tuesday-ish next week. A frontal boundary stalling out somewhere over the region next week. It's just part of a big, nasty scenario that really could be a big issue for us. But we'll save that for a later date. For now, thank you for watching and being a part of the show. Could not do it without you. We'll see you next time for more of Your News Today. Night.